Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radhika Raman Giriju Ki Jai Ho. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janabalava Givanidhari. Gopi Janabalava Givanidhari. Yasodananjana Braja Jana Ranjanan. Yasodananjana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamunatira Banachari. Jamunatira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janabalava Givanidhari. Gopi Janabalava Givanidhari. Yasodananjana Braja Jana Ranjanan. Yasodananjana Braja Jana Ranjanan. Jamunatira Banachari. Jamunatira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janabalava Givanidhari. Gopi Janabalava Givanidhari. Yasodananjana Braja Jana Ranjanan. Yasodananjana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamunatira Banachari. Jamunatira Banachari. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radhika Raman Ki Jai Ho. First of all, I'd like to offer my heartfelt Pushpanjali to the lotus feet of my Harinam Diksha Guru, our Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. Second of all, to my Bhajan Shiksha Guru, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, our Gurudev, to Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, and to the entire Guru Parampara, and especially to our Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and his Madhurya Kadambini. Jai Ho. So here we are in Vrindavan, back in Vrindavan, and if you look around in Vrindavan, in Drishyaman Vrindavan, what we can see with these eyes, the Jamuna is really small, and there's mud everywhere. She has left a lot of mud. But anyhow, she's beautiful, and her breezes are wafting away and coming and bringing us all kinds of sweetness and purity and purifying our very minds, souls, and beings. Because this is Jamuna. She's a manifestation of Vishaka Devi, and she's a daughter of the sun god, Surya Dev. So we pray that she may always purify us. And in Vrindavan, tomorrow's Ekadasi. So we'll be following Ekadasi tomorrow. I don't know about around the world, but as we know, Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani Ekadasi Devi Ki Jai. We must follow Ekadasi. Sachinandan Gaur Hari has proclaimed that all Gaudiya Vaishnavas should follow Ekadasi. His mother was not following Ekadasi, and he begged from her, "Mother, please, please, I ask you one thing, please follow Ekadasi." And of course she followed Ekadasi. So as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Ekadasi is one of the main limbs of bhakti for us. And we try and do it as best as possible. And the main part of Ekadasi is quality, not necessarily quantity or austerity, but quality and the sincere desire to go deeper into our bhajan and to do more bhajan that day if possible. And if we are already doing 24 hours a day bhajan, to do it even more deeply. Like this. It's not that, oh, well, I did near Jalakadasi, I didn't eat and drink, but I slept all day because I was tired and weak and I couldn't do anything. No. We do whatever we need to do so we can do our bhajan, our sadhan bhajan, our bhakti, our seva, our guru seva. Now, a long time ago, not a long time, 50 years ago, it's kind of a long time ago, when I was in Los Angeles, ISKCON, my main service was distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. Now, Prabhupada, he was so much desirous of this book distribution because it was the foundation of his preaching. It was the foundation of Mahaprabhu's movement going to the Western world. Everyone who came to preach after Prabhupada was on this foundation of his books, really, and of the Harinam, Sankirtan, like this. So pretty much, Prabhupada said, whatever you need to distribute the books, you do that. He even actually said someone could could eat grains, but we never did. But he went that far to say that this book distribution was so important. We never had to do that because, I mean, really, we don't need to do that. And we knew that, so we didn't. But we would distribute the books. Prabhupada was quite amazing, actually, on Janmashtami, Radhastami, the way we celebrated for us book distributors. We went and distributed more books. And then we came home for the festival, like this. So also on Ekadasi, he had us out distributing books. And we were distributing books day and night, pretty much. But we followed Ekadasi, and we found it was enlivening for us, like this. So whatever our Guru's Seva is, now if our Guru's Seva is, especially on Ekadasi, is to chant, a lack of rounds, so we should do that. And we should do it with ever deeper faith, ever deeper absorption, like this. Whatever our seva is to Sri Guru and to the Vaishnavas, to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Radha and Krishna, that should be the center of our life. Always, what to speak of on Ekadasi. And of course, we follow the basic rules for Ekadasi, which we don't eat certain things, if possible, unless it's totally impossible. Like you're in jail or something and there's nothing you can get or something. Let's put it that way. Because I think any other time it's possible. It really is possible. Because if we have faith in Guru and Krishna, they will give us the strength to do whatever service we need to do. Because if we book distributors didn't need to take grains on Ekadasi when we were out distributing books, it seems like no matter what someone's doing, they would be able to do it. Because it depends on, I suppose, the person. But it's very important that we follow Ekadasi, both the internal and the external. We should be very careful of those that we associate with. If we associate with those who are not following Ekadasi, we should be very careful about this. Very, very careful, because it's very important. And it's very important to nourish our bhakti, like this. We shouldn't be hateful of persons that aren't following a bhakti. We can be respectful, but we should keep some distance. And especially we should not necessarily take any foodstuffs from them, because their moods go in what they've cooked, like this. So we should be careful. So, because there are some Vaishnavas here in Vrindavan. We have to call them Vaishnavas because the definition of Vaishnava is that they worship some form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But they are not Gaudiya Vaishnavas, although they think they are, but they're not. And they don't follow Ekadasi. There's many reasons, we won't get into why. But we should be very careful. Very, very careful. And understand who it is that we're associating with, and are they actually favorable to our Guru Seva, to our following our Guru Parampara, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, etc., up to Mahaprabhu. So if someone's saying, don't follow Ekadasi, is he really a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Like this. So we can respect from a distance because they believe in Radha and Krishna and whatever, but we should be very careful about any association with them, like this, and not taking their foodstuffs, like this. Because we see here in Vrindavan, sometimes persons are just giving out free food and this and that and this and that, But we have to find out who the persons are. We should be careful when it comes to this. And we should be very careful about Ekadasi. Because some persons are not careful. They'll give out free food, and it might be something that has something in it that we wouldn't know, but it isn't something that we take on Ekadasi. You see, like this. So like this. It's supposed to bring us closer and closer to Sri Guru, Gauranga, and Radha and Krishna. So what brings us closer? Making the instructions of Mahaprabhu and all of his followers our life and soul. And chanting Hare Krishna with deep love and affection, or desiring it to do it with deep love and affection, and whatever our particular Guru Seva is. Okay, Kadasi Devi Ki Jai. Now on to Madhurya Kadambini, shower number 7, which is Bhav, and the flow of divine nectar, and the sprout of prem. And we're not going to quite finish today, I don't think. Maybe tomorrow. I mean next week. We're just finishing up 1G, text 1G. We didn't quite finish. We finished the 9 symptoms of Bhav, and which I haven't memorized, but they're here. They are the 9 symptoms, and this is very important that we know these 9 symptoms, because as Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has said, these 9 symptoms are the real indication of someone who has Bhav. Not whether they can cry and roll on the ground and their hair can stand on end, but they may be deceitful. They may be someone that just easily cries. But these 9 symptoms, and a softening of the heart by ruchi, a real bona fide taste for bhakti. And then these symptoms come. This is the real standard of who has Bhav. So the first one was Shanti, forbearance, patience, tolerance. The second was Avyarta Kalatva, not wasting any time. They're expert in not becoming involved in any material activities, either with their body or their mind. No mental either, like this. It's not just the body, but also the mind. Virakti, detachment from worldliness, very expert at not becoming engaged in worldly activities. Mana sunyata, freedom from pride. Even though they may have so many wonderful qualities, no pride. They're feeling so fallen. Why? Because who is their standard? Srimati Radhika. She's Prem Guru. She's the standard, isn't she? Even for Krishna. She's Krishna's Prem Guru also. So when we look at ourselves, what to speak of us, what to speak of even Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's thinking, I have no good qualities when he's seeing himself in relationship to Srimati Radhika. No, I have nothing. I have no bhakti. When we look at Mahabhav Swarupini Srimati Radhika, and she thinks she has no bhakti. So if she thinks she has no bhakti, because she's thinking, Krishna's gone, and I'm still alive. I haven't passed away, I haven't died. How could I have any bhakti? The standard actually in bhakti starts from the top and comes down. It doesn't start from our dictionary here and goes up. No. It comes from the ultimate dictionary of Srimati Radhika. She is the standard for pretty much everything, right? And we judge according to Srimati Radhika's qualities. So the 5th one is Ashabandha. Unlimited, firm faith that Krishna will give his grace, will give his mercy. Hope. Always hopeful. Even though we understand how fallen we are, but we understand also, we've seen Jagai Madai Nitai. We've seen how causelessly merciful is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we have hope. Not in our qualification, but in His mercy. His mercy is such that He will give to everyone, even if someone as fallen as me. Like this. Samutkanta, longing for one's desired object. That's eagerness. Remember, eagerness, intense eagerness. Intense, and it's spontaneous. It's not, oh, well, I guess I should be really excited about this, so let's get excited about it, No, it's something that's really there, real lolium, real intense eagerness. Like we talked about, that bum in the street who's in the gutter, and the dogs are urinating on him, and he sees the most beautiful lady in the world go by. And he can't help it. He's just attracted, because that's the nature of the world, the material world, what to speak of the spirit. And unnaturally, he'd think, wow, I wish I could be married to her. That's just a natural thing in the material world. So like this, that natural attraction, the eagerness, but not for the most beautiful lady who walked by, but for Radha and Krishna. Like this, to be able to serve them, love them. Okay. Then 7, Nam Gane Sada Ruchi, a perpetual taste for chanting Krishna's name, a relish for Krishna's name, never wanting to give up chanting Krishna's name. It's sweet and sweeter and sweetest. Number 8, Ashaktis Tad Gunak Yane, attachments to hearing Hari Katha, especially of Radha and Krishna. And hearing his Hari Katha, like Bhagavad Gita even. This is Krishna's Hari Katha. Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Like this. We never tire of hearing the qualities and pastimes of Krishna. And the last one, Pritis Tad Vasati Stale, a love for living in the pastime places of Bhagavan. For hearing about the pastime places and living there, like this. And if we can't live there, at least in our own homes, wherever we are, glorifying the Holy Dham and the residents of the Holy Dham. And trying to make our hearts and minds the Holy Dham. So these are the symptoms of bhav, the actual symptoms. And with this, the heart is melting. Now, the next subject matter that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur brings up is very interesting. It's called Rati Abbas, meaning just Abbas. Abbas means like a semblance. A semblance. Like when the sun is coming up, we call it, it's the dawning, but you don't see the sun. Sun isn't there. So this is a semblance of sun, sunshine. So Rati Abbas is like when we see, actually sometimes one may see karmis or gyanis, and they actually have some haripulation, they have some crying like this. They may actually have that. Or even in ignorant persons, because of their association with devotees, they may actually feel something also. But this is called a semblance. And there's 2 different categories of this Rati Abbas. One is a reflection. It's just a reflection. And that's what happens in the karmis and gyanis. Rati from someone is just being reflected in them. From a pure devotee who actually has Rati, it's being reflected. And so when we see it in them, we can understand this is a reflection. But it's real. It's better than nothing. It's better than, it's actually a step up. And then the ones in the ignorant persons who it's coming to because of association with someone who has Rati is called Chaya, and that's shadow. So you have Pratibimba, which is reflection, and you have Chaya, which is shadow. Now I won't get into the technicalities of this because there's lots of technicalities. But we can understand those are bona fide, but they're not Rati. They're not Rati. But for those who have practiced how to roll on the ground and cry, and they're just deceitful, cheating people, they have no Rati Abbas. They have nothing. It's nothing to do with Rati. It's all cheating. Or if someone who just easily cries, because that's their karma. Like some ladies, even some men, anything makes them cry. That's also not Rati Chaya or Rati Bimba. Rati Bimba Abbas is not. So we should understand like that. So that was a subject matter that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur spoke about briefly, and Srila Gurudev spoke about briefly. Now we're going to go on to text 2. There's only 2 texts in Shower 7, so this is very beautiful, actually. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur first of all discusses 2 types of bhav. There's bhav that comes from Vaidhi Bhakti and bhav that comes from Raganuga Bhakti. Which is interesting because he explains Vaidhi Bhakti. Vaidhi Bhakti is the practice of devotional service with regulated devotional service. With some fear of transgressing scriptural injunctions, some awe and reverence, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, some fear even, like this hesitancy in the practice. And so one doesn't have an uninstructed relationship with the Supreme Lord because he's a bit fearful. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the controller. He's like this. And there's not that mamata there. He's mine. Like the bhav that comes from rag bhakti is completely different. It's very, very personal, very close. Like my son, my beloved. There's this mamata, he's mine. But in the bhav coming from Vaidhi Bhakti, that isn't there because there's this awe and reverence. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we see this even happen to Arjuna on the Battle of Kurukshetra when Krishna showed him his universal form. Because he had a very personal, he's my friend. Arjuna and Krishna were my friends, very close. But when he saw the universal form, whoa, he said, I'm so sorry I've called you this. I'm so sorry I've slept in the same bed. I'm so sorry. See, it broke his very intimate relationship with Krishna. Seeing him as the big supreme controller and the destroyer of all and like this. It's very hard to have a personal relationship. And one thing that Srila Gurudev brings up in the commentary to this particular text, which is 2a, is that there's very little evidence in the scriptures of anyone attaining Krishna through Vaidhi Bhakti. Really, we don't see. Only through Raganuga Bhakti does one attain Krishna. So the bhav that would come from Vaidhi Bhakti is not going to help us attain Krishna. Not possible, because Krishna is this personal relationship. He is my friend. He is my beloved. Like this. So it's not possible to have this feeling of awe and reverence with Krishna. No. If that's there, then it's with Vishnu, or it's with Narayan, or it's with, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, like this. He's so great, he's like this. But with Krishna, it's not possible. So really, one can only attain Krishna in Braj through Raganuga Bhakti. That bhav will come from the Raganuga Bhakti. And in that Raganuga Bhakti, the bhav that comes is very, very, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says its quality and its quantity is very, very thick and condensed. And there's no obstructions. No obstructions. Whereas the bhav that comes from Vaidhi, there's all these blocks, and fear and hesitancy, and it's not very thick. It's not so condensed. It can't be because there's this awe and reverence and there's this fear that, I might do something wrong. If we study later the inhabitants of Braj, there's no fear like this. They're fearless. The only fear they have is of being separated from Krishna. That's their fear. They don't want to be separated, like this. But they're not afraid. He's their dearly beloved. We're going to, the next 2b is the actual categories of bhav. The categories of bhav, the actual bhav. And for myself, I personally want to concentrate on Braj. I don't want to talk about all the different kinds of bhavs in Dwarka, Mathura, and Ayodhya. It's such a vast subject matter. So we'll concentrate on Braj, like this. So the first category of bhav, it's not really, but they give it some kind of entrance. It's called Shanta bhav, Shanta dasya. Shanta ras, Shanta bhav. This is neutrality. Now this doesn't really exist in Braj, and it doesn't really exist even in Mathura or Ayodhya. It is actually only really possible with Vishnu, because there's no feeling of servitude. It's only an appreciation of the form of God, Bhagavan, like super soul. accepting Supersoul, or Param Brahman, or Vishnu, like this. And they accept him as being very peaceful, very merciful, and they appreciate how beautiful he is, like this, but there's no service attitude. This is sometimes yogis are like this, you know. And really in Braj, there's not this bhav. This bhav is not there. I wanted to, for each one of these categories, I was going to give a little example and from Prabhupada's Nectar Devotion, which comes from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So in this neutrality, Prabhupada gives an example that Rupa Goswami gives. And it's really kind of sweet. So one time when Krishna was blowing his Panchajanya conch shell, now he doesn't say wherever he was blowing his conch shell, maybe in Dwarka or wherever, and the mystic sages who are meditating maybe in the Himalayas or wherever they are, they could hear this sound of the Panchajanya conch shell. And so their meditations broke. And they were immediately amazed that their hairs were standing on end and tears were coming from their eyes. In fact, one of these mystic sages, when his meditation broke, he was so astonished and so affected by this Panchajanya conch shell that he started to bash his head against the ground. He was so, and tears were coming. So this is the beginning. What Rupa Goswami says, even though it's not really a category above, one has to at least come to this stage of accepting the form of the Lord and appreciating the form of the Lord before one can start bhakti. You see? It's kind of like an entrance. It's not really, bhakti, but it's not really. But it's a beginning. So someone, at least from there, one has to accept the form of the Lord and appreciate it. He's so peaceful, he's so wonderful, he's the controller, and you're meditating. And this kind of person wants to go to the mountains, to a nice quiet place and just meditate on Super Soul and become absorbed like this. And he usually looks at the tip of his nose, like this. And there's different descriptions you can read about. So these are the Shanta Bhaktas. And the example that's given of them, but it's not a complete example, is the four Kumaras, or Sukadeva Goswami. The reason why that it's not a complete example is that they started that way, and of course they progressed into much higher levels, because Sukadeva Goswami, he spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam. But at first, when he left his mother's womb and ran off into the forest, he was engaged in impersonal Brahman realization until he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam from his father, Vyasadeva. So at that stage, he's given his example of one of these Shanta Bhaktas. And the four Kumaras, actually at first also, they were absorbed in this kind of mystic meditation, impersonal, realization. But then they also became great bhaktas. They became such great bhaktas that actually there's a Kumara Samhita that's all about Radha and Krishna and their pastimes. So one starts here sometimes and then progresses. So the next stage is, the next bhav, the next category of bhav is dasha. Dasha bhav. And that's affection. Affection, but it's as a servant and master. It's not like the next one, which is friendship. This is a servant and master. But in Braj, it's very special because they don't really see Krishna as their master. They see Krishna as the son of their master, who is Nanda Baba. But he's special because he's a prince, you see. So he's still kind of like, but it's a different kind of relationship than with Nanda Baba, you see. It's very special in Braj. And so these servants, they have a lot of affection for him, and they just want to serve him like anything. And there's many different categories of them. It's really fascinating. If you start reading Srila Rupa Goswami's Radhakrishna Ganodesha Deepika, or his Nectar Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it describes all the different servants, what they do, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And they're just overflowing with affection, like this. And some of them even most of Krishna's servants, they don't know of his relationship with the gopis. Also his friends. But there's a few that do. A few of his servants do, and a few of his friends do also. So, and one of the most important servants is called Raktak. There's many different ones, and there's two different categories too. It's called Vita and Cheta or something like that, yeah. But it's, and this Raktak is one of the ones that he is not only serving in so many ways, but he knows a little bit about Krishna's relationship with the gopis. So I was just going to, because I'm not so good at memorizing, I was going to read you something that Raktak has said. Raktak has said, "Not only is Krishna my worshipful and servable Lord, servable by me, but also the gopis of Krishna are equally worshipful and servable by me. Not only the gopis, but anyone who is engaged in the service of the Lord is also worshipable and servable by me. I know that I must be very careful not to become overly proud that I am the servitor and devotee of the Lord." Like this. So this is the mood of Raktak. And he's the number one servant. Now, this is what do you call it? One of the examples of his mood is one of the cowherd boys was saying to Krishna, "Oh Krishna, oh enemy of the Mura demon," that's Murari, "just look at your personal servant Raktak. Simply because he saw a peacock feather, he is now closing his eyes and is no longer attentive to pasturing the cows in the fields. He just saw a peacock feather, and rather he has left the cows far away in the pasture and has not even bothered to bring a stick to control them. Just by seeing a peacock feather, that's how much he loves Krishna. Krishna wasn't there, so he just saw a peacock feather, and he's forgotten everything. Just thinking of Krishna." This is Raktak. Let's see. And Mother Yashoda, she also describes the servants. She says, "Bakula," this is one of Bakula, "please clean the yellowish dress of Krishna. Varika, you should flavor the bathing water with aguru scent. Rasala, you just prepare the betel nuts. You can all see that Krishna is approaching. There's dust overhead and the cows can be seen directly. Everyone, do your service." And Raktak, he says, "Just hear me. Please place me so that I may always be engaged in the service of Krishna, who has now become famous as the lifter of the Govardhan hill." So these moods like this. But they don't see themselves as equal to Krishna. They do not. That's the difference between the sakas, the friendship, and the servants. The servants never see, they see that he's the prince and they're the servants. And they love him like anything. Like the group of servants called the Chetas, which is what Raktak is. They carry Krishna's possessions, such as his Venu, his flute, his horn, his Murali, stick, and rope to use for milking the cows. And they give him all kinds of nice ointments for coloring his face, like this. Some of them, and they're also, it says that these Chetas, this is really nice, they can cleverly find out anything. They're really clever. They perform secret tasks and are bold-minded. So this is how they can somehow serve Krishna and the gopis like this, see? Because they're very bold, they can find out anything, they can do secret things like this. These are his servants like that. And the other ones that are called Vitas, they're talented in making dresses And they're cunning and they're skilled in conversation or expert in subjugating others and in other tasks. Wow, so there you go. Okay, so these are the servants. Now we go on to the next category of bhav, which is dasya. Sakya, friendship. Now this has the appreciation of Krishna like the Shanta. See, in every ras, proceeding qualities that were there are in that one too. So in Sakya, you have the affection of the dasya, and you have the appreciation of the Shanta. But in the Sakya ras, or Sakya bhav, there's also the feeling of intimacy. Even that I'm greater than Krishna. I'm equal to him at least, if not greater. Because friends. Well, it's a passing bhav, because sometimes they also are acting like servants, but sometimes they'll feel like they're greater. Especially the number one sakya in this category, because there's different categories of sakas. And some of them are pre-anarma sakas. Those are the ones like Subal. And they help Krishna very intimately with his pastimes with the gopis. But then there's other sakas who don't do that. They're more like playing with Krishna, wrestling with Krishna. There's Sridham, Radharani's older brother. He's number one in this. He's very equal to Krishna in all of his qualities. And there's a beautiful pastime that it's really funny. This is in the afternoon. And Chandanakala, who is a gopi, is coming to tell Srimati Radhika what Krishna is doing, because she's missing him so much. She's left, Majan Leela is finished, Surya Puja is finished, she's had to go home to Javad. And she's in complete separation from Krishna. So this gopi comes, Chandanakala. Chandanakala is sent by Mother Yashoda. What? To ask Radharani to please cook. Please cook some snacks for Krishna. He'll be coming home, he'll want something right away. Because she cooks 2 times in the afternoon. One is, snacks, and then later for dinner. So Chandanakala comes, and all the Sakis and Radharani ask her, oh, where have you come from? And she says, I've come because Mother Yashoda has asked me for you to cook. I've come from Nandagram. And so then they ask him, what is Krishna doing? And then she says, this is really sweet. Krishna's playing ball and joking with his friends. Sridham has boasted about his strength, and Krishna challenged him. What are you saying, Sridham? Don't you know that I can break your eardrums with a particle of my roaring? If I just roar, your eardrums are going to break. This is boys, this is friends, I just roar and I can break your eardrums. And Sridham, moreover, I can crush your body to dust with the bolt-like arms I have. If you know what is good for you, you'll run away from here after hearing about my strength. So what does Sridham say? Sridham says, Sridham is world famous for his strength, has been victorious, and will remain victorious for time eternal. The witness is your shoulders, which I rode on many times after defeating you. Yet, without any thought, you speak such challenging words and show your arrogant, angry face. He's talking to Krishna. For no reason you have become so proud of killing those demons. So I'll tell you, you might know about Krishna's shoulders. What it is that sometimes the cowherd boys are playing. And this time particularly has to do with killing Pralambasura. So the Pralambasura demon came to the cowherd boys as they were playing, and he assumed the form of a cowherd boy who wasn't there at the time, who had stayed home. But Krishna knew, but anyhow, he said, okay, I'll figure out how to take care of him. So they pretended like he was a cowherd boy. And so Krishna says, let's play like taking teams. So they took teams. Balaram was the head of one side, and Krishna's the head of one. So some boys are here, so Sridham is on Balaram's side. And they're playing all these games, and Balaram's side wins, and Krishna's side is defeated. So Krishna had to carry Sridham on his shoulders, because whoever won got to ride in the shoulders of those who he defeated. And Balaram had to carry Pralambasura. And that's the rest of that. As we know, Pralambasura went far away, and he tried to kill him, and Balaram killed him. But, this is what Sridham's saying. Just see, I won, and you've carried me so many times on your shoulder because I won. I beat you. He said, you can shout all you want that you're going to break my eardrums and that you're going to crush me to dust, but I'm victorious. I've always been victorious, and I'll always be victorious. These are the friends of Krishna. But Sridham loves Krishna so much. So much. If there's separation from Krishna, he's completely devastated. Like this. So this is a special Sakyaras, Sakyabhav. That's so beautiful. So beautiful. Yes. And so then Sridham goes on to say, after he says, for no reason you become so proud of killing those demons. Everyone knows, this is Sridham, that the Brahmins killed Putana with their mantras. You didn't kill Putana. You think you did. You claimed you slayed Aghasura, but we also entered his belly. We were also there. If you say, I lifted Govardhan Hill, I will say that it went up in the air by itself, being pleased by our worship. You just held your finger under it. I cannot understand why are you so puffed up. Why are you so puffed up, Krishna? This is friendship. Is it so much love and affection, so much intimacy, no fear, you see? And then another time, one of Krishna's friends, this is beautiful, Stoka Krishna said, this is really nice, my dear friend Damodar, you are an expert only in eating. You only know how to eat. You have defeated Subal only because he is weak, and you adopted cheating means. You were cheating. Do not brag about being a great fighter by such action. You have advertised yourself as a serpent, and I am the peacock who will now devour you. Oh, wow. Krishna's getting so much pleasure out of this. So much so. Then another cowherd boy says, my dear Krishna, may your challenger Sridham become glorious for his chivalrous activities, such as vibrating like a thundercloud and roaring like a lion. He dances around till his hair stands on end and his eagerness for fighting increases. Meanwhile, you make a big show of tightening your belt. These are boys, isn't it? These are friends. This is love and affection. But if someone doesn't have love and affection, they'll think, oh, they're offending Krishna. See, if someone actually is doesn't have the adhikar, the qualification, they will not understand Braj Bhakti. They will think, oh, this is offensive. You can't, no, this is against the rules and regulations. You know, we can't do like this. Like this. Another Saka. Oh, this is Sridham again. Oh, wimpy Bhadrasena, I am Sridham. Do not be afraid on seeing my arm that is as thick as an elephant's trunk. First, I will defeat Balaram in battle. Then I will beat Krishna. And finally, I will beat you, Bhadrasena. I'll deal with you. This is Sridham. Radharani's brother. So that is the nectar drops that Chandanakala was telling to Srimati Radharani and revealing the moods of Krishna's sakas. So how they this is service, because this is pleasing Krishna. Service is to please Krishna with love and affection. He's mine, so the thing is my friend. But this is the friendship is like this, like that. So. Also, in the Radha Krishna Ganadesha Deepika, when it's talking about the friends, it talks about it's talking about the different categories. You have the Priya Sakas, and Sridham is in this Priya Saka. They're the same age as Krishna, and the number one is Sridham. But among these Priya Sakas, even though Sridham is number one, the group leader, it says here, the commander of the army consisting of Krishna's friends is Bhadrasena. He was the one that Sridham's going to, punch out. Stoka Krishna, his name is very suitable because he's very small. Stoka means small, and he's always following Krishna. And it says these Priya Sakas, like Sridham, Bhadrasena, they greatly please Krishna through the various types of playful pastimes by their different kinds of sports, scuffles, brawls, wrestling, and stick fights. This is how they serve Krishna, playing with Krishna. Because they have no impurities, nothing, no personal desires. They're completely loving Krishna. So Krishna, there's no barriers, no obstacles, and their hearts can just gush out like this, and they can say so many things. This is all love and affection. So, and all these Priya Sakas are actually peaceful by nature, and they are Sri Krishna's life and soul. So isn't that beautiful? Even though they're saying all these things to Krishna, they're actually very peaceful, and they're his life and soul. That's beautiful. So then you go to the Priya Narma Sakas. The Priya Narma Sakas. And these are very famous, and of course the most famous is Subal. Also Madhu Mangal is among them. Even though he's a Brahmin, he's still a Saka. And let's see. So it describes them, and these are the ones that assist Sri Krishna in his loving affairs with Srimati Radharani and the gopis. In fact, we know the pastime of Subal Saka. Actually, Subal Saka looks like Radharani. He's golden. He looks very much like her. So one time Krishna was feeling such separation from Srimati Radhika, and there was no way. She was being kept at home by Jatila under strict guard, and she could not get out, and there was no way that they were going to be able to meet. And so Krishna, he was with his friend, his Priya Narma Saka, Subal. And Subal says, okay, I will help you. Somehow or other, I will bring Srimati Radhika to you. So he goes to Javat, and he goes right up to Jatila. And he says, oh, Jatila, I've lost my little calf. I can't find her anywhere. And Jatila says, oh, you go away, you friend of that rogue. You go away. What are you doing around here? And Subal says, no, I got to find my calf. I just want to look in your Goshala, see if he's in there. If somehow or other got with your cows. So finally Jatila says, okay, go and look. So he goes in, and he immediately finds his way to Srimati Radhika's room. And he tells Srimati Radhika, who's in Man, who's very angry about Sri Krishna's condition, and immediately her heart melts. So she's ready to go. But how to go? So Subal Saka, because he looks like Srimati Radhika, they exchange their clothes. So Subal's dressed up like Srimati Radhika, and Srimati Radhika's dressed up like Subal. And they both are expert at changing their voices, so that's not a problem. But what about Srimati Radharani's breasts? Now this is going to be a problem. So she gets a calf, they get a calf, and she's carrying her calf in front. So there's no problem. So she goes out, and with Subal's voice, she goes past Jatila. Oh, I found my calf. See you later. As Subal's there, and he can speak like Radharani, so he can trick Jatila. And so Srimati Radharani, dressed as Subal, goes to Krishna. And Krishna's so upset when he sees Subal, Radharani. Oh, you didn't bring her. Oh no, I'm going to leave my life. And when she sees how disturbed, how upset is Krishna, of course, she just touches him. And by her very touch, then he knows who it really is. So this is the service of Subal Saka. This is the service of the Priya Narma Sakas. They're always helping in the pastimes of the gopis. Subal Saka is so close and near and dear to Radharani and Krishna that sometimes he cannot be in the kunja like the manjaris, but he can be outside the kunja. You see what I mean? He's that near and dear. He can even, in the kunj sometimes there's these fans that go like this, and there's a rope that's outside, and you can pull on the rope. There's these kind of Radha Govinda used to at least have that kind of fan. I don't know if they still do. You pull like this, and the fan goes like that. Anyhow, so he could be outside, and he can be pulling on the fan. This is very intimate. He can bring tambul. He can do so many things, but not like the manjaris. Close, but not that close. Oh, in Barshana, okay. So the next category of bhav is, of course, vatsalya, parenthood. This has the appreciation, like Santaras, the affection, like Dasharas, the intimacy, like Sakyaras, the friendship, but it has two more qualities that those don't have, and that is they feel themselves completely superior, and they have to maintain and nourish Krishna. He's their child. And Krishna cannot actually survive without them. Not possible. They have to maintain him, they have to nourish him. Even if he's naughty, they have to chastise him. This is parental affection. And we know so many stories about this. We know the story of the Dambandhan Leela, where Srimati Yashoda Devi ties Krishna up to the grinding mortar. Her affection is so intimate. How she could tie him up? But because she was afraid if she didn't do that, he would become so naughty, so she had to train him a bit. He has to become trained. Like this. This is the idea. They want to protect him. They want to nourish him. They want, like this. As soon as she sees Krishna, immediately milk comes from her breast. Tears come from her eyes. Automatically. And when Krishna's coming home from the pasturing grounds and she first sees him, somehow or other, even though he's Kishore, she only sees him as her Lala, her son. And somehow or other she puts him on her lap. This is the world of Bhav. This is the spiritual world. Anyhow, for her, she's always his little boy. And she bathes him with her breast milk and her tears. Like this. His mother Yashoda. And Nanda Baba, as soon as he sees Krishna, he puts him on his lap, his little boy, and sniffs his head, gives him a laddu, like this. Like this. Oh, so much. And when Krishna's away, there's so much separation. When Krishna's going to the pasturing grounds in the morning, he goes off to pasture the cows, right? And his cowherd boys go with him. They're lucky, they get to go with him. The gopis are feeling so much separation. Of course, later they can meet him later. And the cows go with him. But Yashoda and Nanda and the older gopis, they cannot go. Cowherd boys, they don't go. They're not allowed in the midday pastimes. And so they're following Krishna, and they know they're going to feel so much separation. And they're crying, and Mother is saying, "Oh, why you never let me go? Why? And so Krishna, he says, "Oh, mother, I'm going to get hungry when I'm out there, so you have to go home and cook my special sweets. Go home, and you send me lunch with one of my servants, and you send me a picnic." So then, okay, so it's service. Okay, I have to do for the pleasure of Krishna. And he tells Nanda Baba, "Oh, we're going to be playing bat, ball and bats. You go home and you make me some bats. I broke my bat. So you go home and you make a bat for me." And so in that way, because he gives them some service for him, then they go home and they do what he's asked them. But they're feeling so much separation. And then when he comes in the evening, oh, they're like, it's like someone who's died coming to life again when he comes. How can he exist like this? Yeah. So, of course, the topmost bhav, Madhur Bhav, Prayasi Bhav, the beloveds of Krishna. They have all these other characteristics, qualities, but they have one quality that no one else has. They can serve Krishna with everything, even with their own bodies. They're amorous love, like this. Very special, very rare, and very confidential. they have amorous love for Krishna, and Krishna's amorous love for them. Madhur Bhav, topmost Bhav. And of course the topmost prayasi is Srimati Radhika. And number 2 is Chandravali. You have Srimati Radhika and her rival, Chandravali, and you have so many gopis. They're pleasing Krishna with all their love and affection. And they know how to please Krishna automatically. Like one time Krishna, he was in Anjanok, and he started playing his flute. And Srimati Radharani and her gopis were there, and I don't know if it was Barshana, or it might have been Barshana, it might have been Javan. And as soon as they heard the flute, they came. And when he saw Srimati Radharani, she only had kajal on one eye, her waist belt was around her neck, so everything was out of place. So he said, oh, you're so beautiful, but here. So then he applied the kajal to her other eye. That's why it's called Anjanok, like this. Because Krishna wants to serve the gopis. It's not that they want him to serve them, but they know that it brings him great pleasure to comb their hair, put the footlack on their feet. He likes to serve the gopis. And this is our Krishna, who's at the feet of the gopis, especially Srimati Radhika, Seva Kunj, where he's serving, or in Shringarvat, where he's combing her hair. This is our Krishna. They automatically know. I wanted to tell one pastime. In this regard. I'm not going to tell the intimate Kunja pastimes. That one has to be extremely confidential about and very qualified. But that is our ultimate goal, is to become qualified to serve in Jugal Vilas, Kunja pastimes, following in the footsteps of Sri Rupa Manjari. But there's so many amorous pastimes between the gopis and Krishna, which are possible for us to hear and relish at our stage. So this is a beautiful pastime that took place in Chatta and Umrao. This is down off the Delhi highway, down on the way to Barshana, Nandagram. So one day, Krishna and his sakhas were in Chatta. It wasn't called Chatta at the time. And they decided to have a pastime where they wanted Krishna to become the king, the royal emperor of Vrindavan. So they put him on a throne, and they had the umbrella above him. Balaram was the prime minister, and Sridham. Everyone's there, and they're worshiping him. And then Madhu Mangal's there. He's the court jester. It's all a court, right? So then they said, okay, Krishna says, so you send out a proclamation that anyone who comes and disturbs anything in my kingdom, they're going to be punished. This is my kingdom, and they cannot. And those gopis have always come, and they're always disturbing. They're taking the flowers, they're stealing flowers, so they have to be punished. So when some gopis heard this, the gopis, there are always gopis everywhere, Lucy, They went back, and they told Lalita about this. And Lalita got so angry. She said, no. So then, in Umrao, which is very close to Chatta. Chatta means umbrella, like a royal umbrella. In Umrao, they said, how dare them say this? And so they put Radharani on the throne and declared her the Umrava, which means empress of Vrindavan. And Lalita was her prime minister, and they had the whole court. And, and how dare these people? This is her part. They're the ones that are stealing everything with their cows and ruining everything, stomping everything down. Hare Krishna. So then they got the order, I don't remember if it was Radharani or Lalita, that the gopis should invade Krishna's place. So the gopis, they got these sticks, flower sticks and flower ropes, and they start, thousands of gopis. They start running over into Chatta. I mean, this is boyfriend, girlfriends. This is amorous pastimes, right? Teenagers. Very intimate. No obstructions. So they're going over there. And when the sakhas see You see all the gopis coming like this, they all start running. They get afraid and they just run in every direction. They're just, and all these gopis are coming with their flower sticks and their ropes. And the gopis, they catch, who do they catch? Madhu Mangal. They capture him. Krishna's, intimate friend. So they drag him, they bring him over to Srimati Radharani, they put him at her feet, and they say he should be punished. And Radharani, and Madhu Mangal is pretty smart. He says, oh, yes, I deserve punishment. Oh, yes, I'm an offender. Oh, yes. But whatever punishment you give me, please make sure that my stomach becomes full of ladus. So then Radharani just starts laughing. And she says, oh, he's just a gluttonous Brahmin. Let him go. Let him go. Give him a bunch of ladus and let him go. So he goes back to Krishna. And he starts, oh, Krishna, they were so mean to me. Oh, Krishna. And he starts complaining and all. So then Krishna says, okay, we're going to go and invade the gopis, So what amazing pastime. So then they all come. And when they start coming in, and when Srimati Radhika actually sees Krishna, her beloved, she gets embarrassed. She wants to take off her queen. She gets embarrassed, But the gopis won't let her. And so they bring Krishna and they place Krishna right beside Srimati Radhika. So they're side by side, the king and queen, the emperor and the empress, right? And then Madhu Mangal says, oh, actually, Radharani, we accept defeat at your lotus feet. We are defeated. So now you're in possession of everything. You can take anything you want from the body of Krishna. Like this. This is Jugal Vilas. Amorous pastimes. This is the pastimes in Madhur Ras. So, very sweet pastimes. These are going on all over Braj, all the time. We just don't have the eyes to see. The boating pastimes, the dawn pastimes, so many pastimes. Rasa Leela. But one question that Rupa Goswami brings up at this point, he says, well, if Madhur Ras is the top, why doesn't everyone just want Madhur Ras? Why isn't everyone just aspiring for that? If it's the number, it's the most tasty. Just like you have mango juice, you have grapefruit juice, you have grape juice, you have jackfruit, you have all these juices, and everyone tastes different, and they're different thicknesses. Mango's considered the topmost. Why wouldn't everyone go for the most tasty? And Rupa Goswami explains that actually we all have a natural propensity. You see? Just like we've always heard, we have who we are actually in our Atma, in our soul, is a blueprint of who we are. We are an eternal someone, something, you see? So we have a natural taste there actually, and when that, and bhakti is removing the coverings and our actual self is emerging by the process of bhakti, and in bhav we actually find out what our siddha deha is, and then in prem is completely perfected. Is someone who has the blueprint to be a Saka is not going to be a Saki. That's just who they are. You see? It's a natural taste. So everyone has a natural taste. And he may hear about these and appreciate. But everyone has their own natural. Of course, there are some that start in a lower rasa or lower bhav, but that isn't their actual identity. And so then they may come to a higher ras. Just like when Mahaprabhu went to South India and he met Gopal Bhatta Goswami and his father Venkata Bhatta Goswami, Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, and they were worshipping Lakshmi Narayan or Sita Ram. I think Lakshmi Narayan. But because they're actually in the Madhur Ras, Lord Chaitanya could change them. Gopal Bhatta is a Manjari. Rupa Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur is Tunga Vidya Saki. So that's who they are. That's their original Siddha Deha. But one's original Siddha Deha doesn't change. But one in Madhur Ras can be in any of the rasas at some time because they have everything. But one in Vatsalya Ras cannot, not Madhur Ras. One in Sakya Ras, not Vatsalya, not Madhur. But in Madhur, just like in the Jaiva Dharma, in the end, when Vijay Kumar and Brajanath were sent to Puri to Gopal Guru. Yeah, Gopal Guru? Yeah, that's the name, Gopal Guru. Yeah, yeah. To get further enlightenment in bhakti, he was able to be both of their gurus, because he himself is in Madhuras. Now, one of them, I think it was Vijay Kumar, Vijay was in Madhuras, and Brajanath was in Sakyaras. But Gopal Guru could be the guru for both, because he was in Madhuras. Like this. And so another question that comes up, who is the one who will actually be able to see who's in a higher ras and a lower ras? And Srila Gurudev explains that someone who's aspiring for one ras, or is aspiring for more than one ras, or not aspiring, they cannot know. They cannot know. They cannot judge which rasas are actually higher and lower. The only person who can judge who's in a high, what are the higher rasas, the categories of rasas, is someone who's totally absorbed in their own ras. Somehow they are the ones that are qualified. And the example is Uddhava. Uddhava's totally absorbed. He's in Dasya and Sakya, I think. Dasya and Sakya. I think that's his ras. He's in Dwarka. He's a close friend of Krishna, but he's also servant of Krishna. Like this. So Dasya and Sakya. Maybe there's some Vatsalya there too. I'm not expert in this. Anyhow, he gets sent, as you know, to Braj to give Krishna's letters to the gopis, his messages. And when he sees the extraordinary praying of the gopis, he understands it's higher than his. He understands what it is, and he prays to become a blade of grass in Braj so he can get the foot dust of the gopis. So someone like Uddhava, he can understand because he's completely absorbed in his own ras. So that is for today. We'll stop there, and next week we'll finish up, I think, Bhav, which is getting into the Anubhav, Sthai Bhavs, like this, and Krishna as the reservoir of ras, the reservoir of all pleasure. Okay, Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Gandhari Giri Hari Radhika Ramangiri Ju Ki Jai Ho Vancha Kapatuvischa Kripa Sindhu Vivita Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Jai Shri Guru Ranga Gandhari Giri Hari Radhika Ramangiri Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gandarika Giridhari, Gandarika Giridhari Radhe. Jaya Gandarika Giridhari, Gandarika Giridhari Radhe. Jaya Radhika Raman, Jaya Radhika Raman, Radhika Raman, Jaya Radhika Raman. Jaya Radhika Raman, Jaya Radhika Raman, Radhika Raman, Jaya Radhika Raman. Jaya Govardhana, Jaya Giriraja, Govardhana, Jaya Giriraja. Jaya Govardhana, Jaya Giriraja, Govardhana, Jaya Giriraja. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Gandharika Giridhari Radhika Mangiri to Shri Guru Garanga Ki Jai Ho. Thank you all very much. Madhurya Kadambini Ki Jai Ho.